The snowstorm howled across the frozen valley as if the land itself wanted to push him back. Captain Darius pulled his cloak tighter and kept moving forward, each step sinking into the icy ground. He had come this far on a mission no other soldier dared to take. Somewhere beyond the ridge was the pass that led into the alien kingdom, a forbidden place where no human had ever returned alive. Legend said the path was guarded not only by warriors, but by something far more dangerous. Yet Darius did not turn back. He was a soldier of Earth, hardened by endless wars, and he had sworn to bring back answers. His commanders wanted maps of the alien lands. But for Darius it was not just duty. He had seen too many villages destroyed, too many families broken, and he wanted to know what kind of force stood behind those attacks. The wind cut across his face like knives, and the ground shook faintly under his boots. He slowed, realizing this was no ordinary tremor. A low growl, deeper than thunder, rolled through the valley. Darius tightened his grip on his rifle and raised his eyes to the ridge. She appeared through the swirling snow, sitting tall and proud on the back of a monstrous beast covered in white fur. The creature's glowing blue eyes burned like fire in the storm, and its fangs glistened with frost. It was twice the height of a tank, its roar echoing across the cliffs. On its back sat a girl, but she was no ordinary figure. Her hair flowed like strands of silver, long and untamed, her skin pale with a faint glow, her eyes shining with cold light. She was young, beautiful, and dangerous, wearing armor that shimmered with strange symbols, holding a long spear tipped with crystal that pulsed with blue fire. The beast halted, claws digging into the ice, and the girl leaned forward, her gaze locking on the human. Her voice carried through the storm, sharp and fierce. "You shall not pass, human." Darius steadied his stance, the weight of her presence pressing down on him. He had fought generals and warlords, but never had he seen someone command both beauty and terror so completely. The beast's breath misted in the air, each exhale filled with power, as though it waited for her command to strike. His instincts screamed to retreat, but his oath held him steady. He took a step forward instead of back, his boots crunching in the ice. The girl's eyes narrowed. She raised her spear higher, and the beast growled louder, the snow trembling beneath its weight. The storm seemed to listen to her. The wind shifted, swirling around her like a cloak of power. She was not just a warrior, she was something greater, something tied to this land. Darius wondered if he was staring at the spirit of the mountain itself, but he did not lower his weapon. "I came for answers," he shouted against the storm. "Not to fight. But if you stand in my way, then fight is what you'll get." For a moment, silence fell. Only the beast's heavy breathing filled the air. The alien girl tilted her head, her icy eyes narrowing as if weighing his soul. Her grip tightened on the spear, and the crystal tip flared brighter, sending arcs of blue light into the sky. The beast shifted, claws scraping the ice, and the air grew tense, thick with danger. Darius felt his heartbeat hammer against his chest, yet he refused to look away. If this was the guardian of the pass, then his mission had truly begun. The beast's roar shook the valley, echoing through the frozen peaks. Its glowing fangs opened wide, as if one bite could end a human in an instant. Snow cascaded down from the cliffs, stirred by the sheer force of its voice. Yet the alien girl held it back with one hand on its fur, her spear gleaming like a shard of the storm. Darius did not flinch. His breath came out in misty clouds, but his eyes never left hers. He had faced war machines, alien weapons, and merciless commanders, but nothing compared to this strange and powerful figure. She was not just a soldier guarding a border. She was a symbol, a warning, a wall of living strength and beauty fused into one. Her voice cut through the storm again. "Human blood stains this land. Your kind take, burn, and destroy. You step into sacred ground where you are not welcome." Her words were not shouted in rage. They were calm, heavy, and final, like a judge passing a sentence. Darius adjusted his rifle but did not raise it. Not all humans are the same. I came alone. I came for truth, not war. Her piercing gaze studied him, as though she could see through the layers of armor and skin into his thoughts. The beast growled again, its breath blasting snow into the air. But she did not strike. Instead, she leaned closer, her silver hair streaming like fire against the cold wind. You speak of truth, she said softly, but her spear never wavered. Yet your truth is soaked in lies. My people remember your armies. We remember your weapons. We remember fire raining from the skies. The truth of humans is death. The words stung him. Memories of burning cities, of soldiers marching without mercy, flashed in his mind. He knew she was not lying. Humanity's wars had scarred countless worlds. But he also knew there was another truth, one she had not seen. I know what we've done, Darius said, his voice low. But I also know what we can do. I've seen humans save lives, rebuild, protect those who could not protect themselves. You only see one side of us. Let me show you another. The girl's eyes flickered, the icy glow within them dimming for just a heartbeat. But then the beast roared again, shaking the ice beneath their feet, and the moment of hesitation was gone. You stand where no human should, she said firmly. The pass is forbidden. Beyond it lies the heart of my people, and no invader may cross. She lifted her spear high, and lightning-like energy crackled along its tip. The beast's claws dug deeper into the ice, preparing to leap. For a second, it seemed as though both would fall upon him at once. A storm of fang and spear. Darius' grip tightened on his weapon, but he did not lift it. Instead, he spread his arms slightly, leaving his chest exposed. If you believe all humans are only destroyers, then strike me down. But if you believe there might be something else, something worth sparing, then let me prove it. The storm howled louder, wrapping around them as if the land itself waited for her decision. The beast growled deeply, its jaws opening wide, but her hand pressed firmly against its fur, halting its movement. The glowing spear in her hand trembled faintly, as though even it was unsure of what would come next. For the first time since he had seen her, the alien girl did not speak. Her eyes searched his face with an intensity that made him feel stripped of all armor. He stood ready, not to fight, but to endure whatever judgment she would give. Then she lowered the spear, just slightly, enough to show hesitation but not surrender. The beast rumbled with frustration, its icy breath pouring into the air. Step forward once more. Human, she said at last, her voice sharp and commanding. And your fate will be sealed. Darius took a slow breath. His mission had already changed. He had not come only for maps or orders. He had come for understanding. And now he realized his survival depended on showing her that humans were more than the monsters she believed them to be. The beast shifted its massive weight, claws scraping the ice with a sound like blades cutting stone. Darius felt the vibration in his chest, but he did not move. The alien girl's spear glowed brighter, its light reflecting in her eyes, cold and sharp like shards of frozen crystal. The wind swirled around her, carrying a power that felt older than the mountains. You carry no army, she said slowly, her voice calm yet dangerous. But humans never walk without shadows. Who sent you? Darius held her gaze. No one sent me. My commanders ordered maps and reports, but that is not why I'm here. I came because I needed to see what lies beyond this pass. I came because I wanted to know if the stories were true. Her lips curved into something between a frown and a smirk. And now that you see me human, do you believe the stories? He did not answer at once. He studied her instead, the way her silver hair whipped against the wind, the way the beast obeyed every touch of her hand, the way her spear hummed as though it held the storm itself inside. She was no tale. She was real, and more than any story could have prepared him for, "The stories never said you'd be this strong," he said finally. "Or this. Alive." Her eyes narrowed at his words, and for the briefest moment, something flickered across her face, confusion, perhaps, or a thought she quickly buried. But she lifted her spear higher. "Strength is not for you to admire. It is for you to fear." The beast rumbled again, but it stayed in place, waiting for her command. The air between them was heavy, charged like the moment before lightning strikes. Darius felt his heart race, but his voice stayed steady. "If I feared strength, I would never have come here." The girl tilted her head, studying him as though he were some strange creature she had never seen before. Her people had fought humans for decades, she had said. To her, every soldier was the same. Yet here was one who did not tremble, who did not beg, who dared to face both her and her beast with empty hands. She lowered the spear only slightly, her voice soft but sharp as a blade. "You are either brave or foolish, maybe both," Darius replied. For the first time, her lips curved into something close to a smile, though it carried no warmth. "Foolish men die first." He stepped closer, slow and steady, crunching through the snow. The beast growled, its breath blasting white mist into the air, but her hand kept it still. Their eyes locked, human and alien, soldier and guardian, predator and prey. "You want to know what lies beyond this pass?" she said finally. "You want to see the heart of my people?" "Yes," Darius answered. His voice carried no hesitation. "Then you must earn it." She raised her spear again, this time not as a threat, but as a challenge. Blue sparks danced along its length, and the storm above seemed to answer her call. "Show me the truth of your strength, human. Not with your weapon, but with yourself." Darius glanced at his rifle, then slowly lowered it into the snow. His breath came fast, not from fear, but from the weight of what lay ahead. He knew what she demanded. A trial, a test, a fight not against her beast, but against her. The alien girl slid down gracefully from the beast's back, landing on the ice with the elegance of someone born to the storm. Her spear glowed brighter, and the beast's eyes followed her closely, protective but obedient. She stood before him now, tall and fierce, her hair streaming like fire against the cold wind. "Step forward," she commanded, pointing the spear toward him. "Prove you deserve to stand on this path, or die where you fall." Darius tightened his fists, feeling the blood surge in his veins. He had come for answers, but now the truth was clear. He would only earn them if he survived her judgment. The frozen wind stung Darius's face as he stepped onto the icy ground where the alien girl waited. She stood tall, spear glowing with blue fire, her silver hair whipping around her shoulders as though the storm itself was bound to her will. Behind her, the beast lowered its head, watching with glowing eyes, its growl a constant rumble that warned him this was no game. Darius raised his fists. He had fought unarmed before, but never against someone like her. He knew one wrong move would end him. Still, he took a steady breath, reminding himself why he came. He could not fail here. The girl struck first. With a sudden blur of motion, her spear flashed through the air, slicing down at him with speed and strength that made the wind cry out. Darius dodged, rolling across the snow, the crack of her weapon striking the ground, sending shards of ice exploding into the air. He rose quickly, fists tight, heart pounding. She spun, her movements graceful yet deadly, striking again. He ducked low, barely avoiding the sweep of her spear as it cut a glowing arc across the air. The power behind her strikes was incredible, but her control was even greater. She was not trying to kill him immediately. She was testing him, measuring his resolve. Darius lunged forward, swinging his fist at her side. She twisted smoothly, his punch meeting only air, and her knee drove toward his chest. He blocked, the force sending him sliding back across the ice. Pain shot through his arms, but he steadied himself. "You fight without fear," she said. her voice almost calm even as she advanced. "But fear keeps you alive." Darius spat blood into the snow and straightened. "Fear also makes you hesitate." "I can't afford that." Her eyes narrowed, and for the first time her expression shifted, not anger, but interest. She rushed forward again, her spear thrusting with lightning speed. Darius sidestepped, grabbed the shaft, and twisted. The energy burned against his gloves, but he held on. With all his strength, he forced it aside, using her momentum to pull her closer. For a moment, their faces were inches apart. Her cold eyes locked with his, her breath quick and sharp. She looked at him as though she expected weakness, but instead she found defiance. Her lips pressed into a thin line, and with sudden force she yanked the spear free, spinning away from him. The beast behind her let out a thunderous roar, shaking the ice under his feet, but she lifted one hand and silenced it instantly. Her attention was only on him. "You are not like the others," she said softly, her tone carrying a weight that unsettled even her. "You do not strike to destroy. You strike to endure." Darius steadied his breath, his fists still raised. "I didn't come here to kill. I came here to survive. To prove that humans can be more than the monsters you believe." Her gaze lingered on him, unreadable. Then she suddenly leapt high into the air, spear spinning in a bright arc before crashing down toward him like a bolt of lightning. Darius braced himself, throwing his arms up. The weapon struck, and the ice beneath them shattered, splitting the ground with a deafening crack. Snow and shards flew everywhere, and when the storm of ice cleared, Darius was still standing. His knees trembled, his arms burned, but he had caught the spear's shaft and held it inches from his chest. The girl's eyes widened, her breath sharp. For the first time, surprise flickered across her face. No human should have been able to stop that strike. And yet he had. The storm around them quieted, as though the land itself paused to see what she would do next. Her hand tightened on the spear, but she did not push further. She stepped back slowly, her cold eyes never leaving his. "You endure," she said, her voice lower now, almost thoughtful. Perhaps too well. Darius let out a shaky breath, his body screaming in pain, but his resolve unbroken. "I told you, I didn't come here to die." The beast behind her growled again, louder this time, as though demanding she end this. But the girl did not move to finish him. She stood in silence, the storm swirling faintly around her, as though something inside her had changed. The alien girl held her spear steady, but her eyes were no longer filled with the same cold certainty. She stared at Darius as though trying to see past the man standing before her into something deeper, something that refused to break even under her storm. The beast behind her snarled, shaking its massive head, snow scattering from its fur. It wanted blood, and its glowing eyes were locked on the human. Darius's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. His arms ached, his ribs throbbed, and yet he stood tall. He had not fallen. He had not begged. He had not drawn his weapon, even when her spear came close to piercing his heart. His refusal to give in made him look less like a soldier and more like a force of his own. "You should be dead," she said finally, her voice soft but carrying through the storm. No human should have stood against that strike. Darius wiped blood from his mouth and gave a tired smile. "Maybe you don't know humans as well as you think." Her grip tightened on the spear. The words unsettled her. All her life she had been told that humans were destroyers, creatures of war, nothing more than fire wrapped in flesh. Yet here stood one who fought without hatred, who defied her not with rage, but with willpower. He had chosen to risk death to prove something she had never believed possible. The beast let out another roar, louder and angrier. Its breath exploded into the air like steam, and it stomped forward, shaking the ground. The girl turned quickly, pressing her hand against its neck. "Enough," she commanded. The beast froze, though its glowing eyes still burned with hunger. Darius watched closely, noticing how even such a monster obeyed her touch. She was not just a warrior, she was a leader, bound to the creature by something he did not understand. It made her power even more terrifying. She turned back to him, her hair falling across her face, her voice lower now. "Why do you fight without killing blows? Why do you not seek my life?" Darius let out a long breath, his words steady despite the pain in his body. "Because if I kill you, I gain nothing. If I prove myself to you, maybe I gain everything." Her spear lowered slightly, though not fully. Her expression was unreadable, but her silence spoke more than her words. She was torn between the beliefs of her people and the truth her eyes could no longer deny. For the first time, she stepped closer to him, not with an attack but with careful steps, her boots crunching in the snow. The beast growled low, but it did not move. She stopped just a few feet away, her icy eyes burning into his. "You carry weight inside you," she said, her voice quieter, almost like a whisper in the storm. "Not just strength. Something else." Darius nodded slowly. "It's called hope. It's why I'm still standing." Her lips parted slightly, as if the word meant nothing to her. Hope, a thing her people had long abandoned. A thing humans still carried even when beaten, broken, and standing alone against impossible odds. The storm around them began to calm, the wind softer, the snow falling in gentle flakes instead of violent sheets. It was as if the land itself listened to the shift between them. The girl lowered her spear at last. The blue glow faded until only the storm's light touched the crystal tip. Behind her, the beast gave a frustrated growl but obeyed, pulling back slightly. "You are not what I expected," she admitted, her voice steady but no longer filled with hatred. "You may yet be more dangerous than any army. A man who endures and carries hope cannot be broken easily." Darius straightened, every muscle aching, but his resolve unshaken. "So will you let me pass?" Her eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in thought. She raised her chin, studying him as though the decision weighed on more than her alone. "Perhaps," she said at last. "But the path ahead is not mine to give freely. If you step forward, you will not only face me, you will face my people. And they will not see you as I do now." For the first time, the fire in her voice was not a warning but something closer to respect. The storm had calmed into silence. Snow fell in soft flakes, settling on the broken ground between them. Darius stood tall, his chest heaving with every breath, his body aching from the trial. Across from him, the alien girl lowered her spear completely, the glow fading until it was nothing but polished crystal. The beast rumbled behind her, restless and angry, but she kept one steady hand on its fur, her will binding it in place. "You are not like the others," she said at last, her voice clear, carrying across the frozen valley. "The human I expected would have drawn his weapon, struck me down, and claimed the path in blood. You fought to endure, not to destroy. You chose hope instead of death." Darius stayed quiet, listening. He knew her words mattered more than anything he could say. Her eyes softened, though their icy glow still held power. "My people will not see you as I see you now. To them, you are still an invader. They will raise their spears, unleash their beasts, and test you again and again. But if you walk this path, human, know that you do not walk it as an enemy in my eyes." The beast let out a low, frustrated growl, as though refusing to accept her decision. She turned her head sharply, and with a single word in her own tongue, silenced it. For the first time since he had seen her, Darius realized that she commanded not through fear, but through respect. Even the great beast obeyed because it trusted her. She stepped closer until only a few feet separated them. The storm's light caught the silver of her hair and the frost on her armor, making her look like something carved out of the mountain itself. She planted the butt of her spear into the snow and met his eyes directly. "You may pass," she said. "Not because you forced me, but because you showed me what few of your kind ever have. You showed me that humans can stand without hatred." that they can endure without cruelty. Darius let out a slow breath, the weight of her judgment sinking into him. "Thank you," he said simply, but she shook her head. "Do not thank me. My people will test you still. You have not earned their trust. You have only earned mine." For a moment, they stood in silence, the human and the alien girl facing each other while the beast's breath steamed in the cold air. Then, with a sharp command, she mounted the creature again. The beast shifted, its massive claws sinking into the ice, and she sat tall upon its back, her silver hair whipping in the wind. She looked down at him one last time, her voice carrying the strength of both a warning and a promise. "Walk forward, human. But remember my words. If you betray the hope you showed me today, you will not face just my spear. You will face the fury of all my people." With that, she pulled on the beast's fur, and it reared up, letting out a roar that echoed across the valley. Then it turned and bounded into the snowstorm, vanishing into the swirling white, leaving only silence behind. Darius stood alone in the snow, his rifle still lying where he had dropped it. He did not pick it up. Instead, he looked at the path ahead, the path that led deeper into the alien lands. His mission had changed, just as he had. This was no longer about maps or orders. It was about proving that humans could be something more. He straightened his shoulders, blood still dripping from his wounds, and took a step forward into the unknown. The storm closed around him, but inside his chest, the fire of hope burned stronger than ever.